Boxing. When the word boxing comes to your mind, you may think of a violent sport, but boxing's so much more deeper than that. Boxing is an art, it's a way for people to express themselves. It's not just a violent sport where it may seem like two people fight. It's a sport where two people showcase their artwork through combat. Behind every punch carries a consequence, and fighters must learn how to manage that fear, pain, and exhaustion while remaining under precision and pressure. This is why boxing has been one of the most long lasting sports for centuries, even millenniums. With all that said, where did boxing exactly begin? Boxing had ancient beginnings. The earliest evidence of boxing dates back to over 5,000 years, with ancient wall paintings from Egypt and ancient Mesopotamia show men engaged in fistfights. Often surrounded by onlookers, these were not just random brawls. They were organized contests, watched and respected. In 1688 BCE, boxing became part of the ancient Olympic Games in Greece. Fighters competed bare knuckled, sometimes wrapping their hands within leather strips. There were no rounds, no weight classes, and no time limits. A fight only ended when one man was killed, or it could no longer continue. These contests were brutal back then. Broken bones, permanent injuries, and death was an accepted risk. But they kept on doing it for the glory for ancient Greece and the Olympic Games. Later on, within the Roman societies, they transformed it into public entertainment, where fighters wore metal studded gloves, turning matches into violent spectacles, and this became when skill became something that was mandatory. And then, when the Roman Empire fell, so as boxing itself disappeared for centuries. These matches usually took place within taverns, open fields, and underground venues. The rules were minimal, wrestling was even allowed. The fighters could also strike their opponent while they were down. Then, later on, in 1743, that's when the first rule book came into place, with Jack Borton introducing the first formal boxing rules. These rules banning hitting a downed opponent, like in before, and introduced a recovery count, making the first serious attempt to protect fighters. Later on, the London prize ring rules refined competition, but the biggest transformation came within 1867 with the Marquis of Queensberry rules. Gloves became mandatory, rounds were timed at 3 minutes, and wrestling was banned. Boxing officially became a sport from here on out. This took place within the 20th century, and this marked boxing's rise to global prominence. Weight divisions were introduced to ensure fairness, and championships became formally recognized. Boxing also reflected society's struggles, and it showed how the struggle for one's glory could also be their rise to fame. Within 1908, Jack Johnson became the first black heavyweight champion. His dominance challenged racial segregation during one of the most divided time periods within American history. His success made a boxing stage for social conflicts and progress. Decades later, a man who has known by many names, Muhammad Ali redefined what a boxer could be. He was known for his speed, his intelligence, and his confidence. Ali dominated the heavyweight division while openly speaking on race, religion, and war. His refusal to be drafted and his legendary fights against Joe Frazier, George Foreman, and many more turned boxing into what it is known now as a global cultural event. Without Muhammad Ali, we wouldn't be experiencing boxing at its level now. Then, also, fighters like Sugar Ray Leonard elevated the sport further, combining athleticism with technical precision, and taught us that skill does matter in boxing, and you can't drive through it with just only brute strength. And now we come to boxing within the modern era. Boxing in the modern era is just as popular as before. It remains as one of the most watched combat sports, up there with mixed martial arts, Muay Thai, wrestling, and many much more sports. Fighters such as Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, and Canelo Alvarez, and much more like Bivol, brought boxing to what it is today using media and global events. This caused boxing to have record breaking audiences and caused the wage for boxing for the average boxer to increase higher and higher, creating more competition. Today, modern boxing is heavily regulated with multiple health checks, referees, judges, and strict rules designed to balance competition with safety. And the uses of doping substances that can enhance your performance are completely banned because that makes an unfair advantage. However, the sport faces challenges with four major sanctioning bodies: the WBA, WBC, IBF, and WO. Multiple championships often exist in the same division. Whilst this creates opportunity, it blurs really who is the best. Because with all of these combined, there is a total of 32 belts. You are not really able to get the best boxer out there with 32 belts in a division. Say, let alone the whole sport, if you have 32 belts. It makes it not clear to see who really is the best. And multiple people aren't willing to fight people who are in different weight divisions, which creates lots of problems on trying to see who's the best. Despite this, boxing continues to adapt, blending tradition with modern training, sports science, and technology. So then one opponent doesn't have a competitive advantage over the other, and so the fight could actually go as it's told, and whoever has the best skill wins. What are the basic rules of boxing? First, only punches with closed fists are allowed. Strikes like kicks, elbows, and headbutts are strictly prohibited. Second, hitting below the belt and behind the head is illegal and will result in penalties. Third, fighters may not push, hold excessively within a clinch, trip, wrestle, or use the ropes for leverage during a bout. And these are the basic rules within boxing. Now, what about ring etiquette and conduct? Respect for the sport and its officials is paramount. During each round, only the referee and two boxers are permitted inside the ring. Coaches are not. Cutmen are not until the break, until the referee calls break or something like that. And then both siders must immediately disengage after the referee calls break. However, the boxing match is scored. So, within professional boxing, there's a 10-point system. The round winner receives 10 points, and the opponent typically receives 9 or fewer points. A knockdown will often result in a 10 to 8 round. Three judges score the fight individually, and their combined score determines the winner. If non knockout occurs, then it's up to point base. But if one does, that's the winner. And within amateur boxing, a point based system is used, often focusing on clean and effective punches. Judges count the number of scoring blows punches landed on the head torso with the knuckle part of the glove. Now, let's go on to other things like what do judges look for. They look for clean punching, effective aggression, ring generalship, and defense. What are the type of decisions when it comes to a winner? There's unanimous decision where all judges agree on a winner. There's split decisions where two judges pick a fighter and the third favors the other. There's a majority decision, two judges agree on a winner, one calls it a draw. And then there's a draw. It can be split, unanimous, or technical, often due to injury or irregularity. What counts as a foul in boxing? So a foul would be somewhere where someone gets hit in the back of the head or the back. Other fouls are using the rope for leverage, or spitting at your opponent, biting them, or verbally abusing the opponent or official. Now, what are the penalties? A verbal warning for the first time. Then, for the second, it matters on what type of foul you committed. It could be a point deduction, or if it's so harsh, it could be a disqualification. And it's tied within many different cultures, like Mexican, European, Asian, everywhere around the world is tied with boxing. And it's not something that should be seen as a violent sport, but something that should be seen as something to be celebrated. And so, that's the history of boxing.